And we return to the subject of the war on Iran. And it seems to me as though this war is becoming increasingly dangerous. And therefore, I have to share with you, my viewing audience around the world, my perception of the increasing danger. Whether others do it or not, I have a duty to do it. And that is that a ceasefire was announced for 2 weeks. That's it. For 2 weeks. And this ceasefire came about not because Iran wanted a ceasefire, but because the United States wanted the ceasefire. And it is to the credit of Iran that Iran eventually agreed to the ceasefire. Why do I say so? Allah says in the Quran, and if the enemy inclines to peace, you must reciprocate. And so credit must go to Iran for having agreed to a ceasefire, temporary ceasefire. And then there were talks in Pakistan in which Iran accused the United States of wanting to be a bully. But that's not new. That is the profile of the United States of America for 200 years and more. Ask all the people of South America and Central America. They will tell you the United States is a bully even in its own backyard. The United States just hijacked and kidnapped the president of Venezuela, who is in a jail in New York at this time. And when they kidnapped Maduro, then Venezuela submitted to the United States. But Iran is not like that. Not only Iran, but Russia is not like that. They will not bend their knee. But not only Russia, most important of all, China is not like that. After the talks in Pakistan ended in failure, the United States then announced a blockade of Iranian ports and a blockade of the Straits of Hormuz, that no ship will be allowed to pass through the Straits of Hormuz if they paid any toll fee to Iran. The reason why Iran cannot even charge $1 to a ship to pass through the Strait of Hormuz is because the United States and the Western world will not accept that Iran will have any kind of authority over the Strait of Hormuz. That is why they will not allow it. And so now we have a situation in which the Straits of Hormuz are going to be blocked for all ships which pay a toll to Iran. And Iran is not backing down. Iran says the Straits of Hormuz is our lifeline. The survival of Iran as an Islamic republic is partially dependent upon Iran's taking partial control over the Strait of Hormuz. And so Iran is not prepared to back down. The implication of this blockade of Iranian ports in the Strait of Hormuz is number one, but this is not new. Everybody will be able to understand it very easily. And that is that the price of oil is going to keep on escalating. And as the price of oil escalates, there's going to be economic misery in some parts of the world and decline of economic stability in other parts of the world. But that is not my subject. There are many others more competent than me to explain the implications for the price of oil and for the world economy, for transportation, because transportation is dependent on oil, for energy, for manufacturing, dependent on oil, for agriculture, dependent on fertilizers and therefore dependent on oil, etc. The Dajjal has successfully established a system of dependence on oil for all of mankind. The economy all around the world is now dependent on oil. This is Dajjal's success. And therefore, whosoever controls oil can control the world. And I am not so much concerned about the price of oil escalating, going up. But more than that, the Pax Judaica, as I explained previously, and you are familiar now with that subject, Pax Judaica has to be established in accordance with what the Torah says about the frontiers of the Holy Land. And that is that the Holy Land extends from the river of Egypt, the Nile, to the river Euphrates. And since it extends up the up to the river Euphrates, you don't need a PhD to understand that Israel has to control all the oil in the Gulf, because it's the river of Euphrates. And in order for Israel to control all the oil, Israel will have to wage great wars to extend the territorial frontiers of the state. I am not saying that this is what will happen. Don't tell me that this is what I'm saying. I am saying something else. Excuse my frustration with these critics. I am saying that if Israel wants to establish Pax Judaica, Israel will have to wage great wars to extend the territorial frontiers of the state. What's wrong with that state? And I am saying that if Israel has to wage great wars to extend the territorial frontiers of the state all the way to the river Euphrates, then Israel has to soften the Arabs and Iran. And one of the ways that you soften them is to put them in a state of miserable poverty and destitution when they can no longer get oil revenues. So it is in Israel's interest to get Iran to destroy all the oil installations in the Gulf, and to get the United States and Israel itself to destroy Iran's oil installations. I pray that this does not happen, but I have to share with you that this is the plan. Now then, I want to turn to the hadith, the prophecy of Prophet Muhammad والسلام, who said, it is in Sahih Bukhari, that the river Euphrates will uncover a mountain of gold. Gold is a metal. So a mountain of the metal, not a wheelbarrow. Did you hear that? A mountain of the metal, not a wheelbarrow. And he said that people will fight for that gold, the mountain of gold. And 99 out of every 100 who fight for that mountain of gold would be killed. And each one fighting for that mountain of gold would say, I would survive. But the believers must not touch that gold. This prophecy of Prophet Muhammad والسلام, is well known because I have been quoting it for 25 or 30 years now, again and again and again. I don't know anyone else who's been quoting it as often as I have been quoting. And I have faced a backlash from those who want to understand it literally. They are a people who refuse to think. And Allah has warned the people who refuse to think that He will place a curse upon those who do not think. Rijz is a curse. And so they wait for a mountain of the gold to come out from underneath the river. And if there's any report of even a nugget of gold being discovered as the waters recede in the Euphrates, these people jump up on the table and start to dance. Here's evidence, a nugget of gold that the mountain is coming. Yes, what can I do with them? But that's not important. They are not an important people. Let's leave them. I have explained, or rather, I have interpreted this hadith maybe 25 years ago or more, and it's very well known. I have said this is mutashabihah, not muhkamah, and it has to be interpreted. And when the Prophet spoke about a mountain of gold, he's not talking about the metal, rather he's talking about black gold. Black gold meaning an ocean of oil underneath the river in the entire Gulf, which will one day function as a mountain of gold. And I have given the first interpretation that is now happening. It has been happening ever since the US dollar was de-linked from gold, and Kissinger succeeded in getting Faisal, rahimahullah, the only Saudi king for whom I say rahimahullah, King Faisal, getting him to agree to the birth of the petrodollar. When he got Faisal to agree that Saudi Arabia would not sell its oil other than for US dollars, which is a haram agreement. And then they got the other oil-producing countries to come on board, and then OPEC came on board, and that's the birth of the petrodollar. and that one day there'll be a war for protecting the petrodollar. And we see that already, the evidence coming up that the war is coming because BRICS has now emerged as a challenge to the Bretton Woods Accord and to the IMF. But now we see something else, that maybe the hadith, the prophecy, has a second interpretation. And that is a blockade of the Straits of Hormuz for all ships passing through that will pay a toll to Iran could be in conflict with international law. But more than that, Russia has no need to send her ships with oil to Iran and to the Gulf. Russia has other places to sell oil. Russia has no need to buy oil or gas from that region of the world. So a blockade of the Straits of Hormuz will not affect Russia. But when we turn to China, the different story. The Chinese economy is significantly dependent on oil from that region of the world, passing through the Straits of Hormuz. Russia has been buying oil from Iran, a significant amount of oil from Iran. China is Iran's, by far, China's biggest customer. And China is buying oil also from the other Arab oil-producing states. China is buying from Saudi Arabia. China is not only buying oil, China is also buying gas from Qatar. I don't know the figures. So now tell me, China is a proud civilization, but China is also a businessman. Will China submit to Trump and refuse to pay any toll for buying oil passing through the Straits of Hormuz? I don't think China will agree to that condition. Will Iran accept that it will not charge any toll to China and to other countries that want to buy oil and pass through the Straits of Hormuz? I don't think that Iran is going to back down on this subject. So now then, if, Trump is a man who wants to make a deal. He's a businessman. And he takes his business practice to politics and international politics. So Trump probably already knows that this is the major implication of a blockade of the Strait of Hormuz. That China is the most important actor to be affected. Trump already knows that. And so the United States might be willing now to try to negotiate a deal that China will accept American hegemony over the Straits of Hormuz. The world must now watch to see what's going to happen. And if the prophecy of Prophet Muhammad ﷺ is correct, then one of the other implications of the mountain of gold could be that China might not agree to a deal with Trump, and that China would say you have no right to stop our ships from passing through international waterway. And if we want to pay a toll to Iran, that is none of your business. And China is a proud civilization. So I do not think that a deal is possible, and I do not think that China will back down. And if Trump backs down, then it won't be America looking great again. If Trump backs down, not only will Trump look bad, but Iran will emerge as the victor in this confrontation. And that's bad news for Israel. So the stakes are very high. And in this video, I want to share with you my view, the likelihood, the possibility that there might be a military confrontation, the United States and China over the Straits of Hormuz. If such a thing happens, and I hope and I pray, and my viewers will join me in hoping and praying, that war does not break out between the United States and China over the blockade of the Straits of Hormuz. But if war does break out, then this could be the war the Prophet ﷺ prophesied about, that 99 out of every 100 will be killed, meaning nuclear war. I've always held the view that the nuclear war will be provoked in the north of Syria, but maybe this is the correct one, and the nuclear war might start because of the blockade of the Straits of Hormuz. This is all I need to share with you on this occasion, but the war on Iran is becoming more and more dangerous.